Hi everybody, it's Karah.
And it's Ebony.
And this is the March episode of Why Not YA?
We're so excited to have Samira Ahmed here. We are talking about a much buzzed about book in the YA community, Internment, and this month's theme is Resist. So thank you so much for coming in. We're so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Incredible book. We just really hope everyone's picked it up, read it. If you haven't, listen to this conversation because it's going to be a good one. And it's going to make you want to read the book.
So what we do is we have like a brief intro about what the book is about, and then I take a quote from the book. Okay. So Internment, 17-year-old Layla is forced into an internment camp for Muslim Americans with her parents, and we kind of follow her as she kind of pushes back against the camp's authority and essentially leads a revolution. So this quote was from her dad. It's a poem, actually. Leilas Dad is a poet, and the poem is entitled Revolution. So, speak to me with your tongue while it's still free, while your body is still yours. Let your words travel through the air, uncontrolled, spontaneous, necessary, tumbling through clouds of dust that dim the sun, until they reach my ear, and so many ears, spilled into the table, waiting. Speak the truth while it's still alive, while lips, cracked and bleeding, can still move. Time is beholden to neither lover nor tyrant. Say what you must, I will listen. So that poem gave me the chills when I read it. And I already knew. I was like, that's the quote. That's it. There's nothing else.
It's fun to hear your words spoken back to you, actually.
You're a poet, obviously.
I always wanted to actually be a poet, but
really?
My poetry wasn't that great. So I say, like, I became a novelist, and then I got to be a poet.
So this shows up within the first 30 pages of the book. And it's kind of the reason why they're taken to the internment camp in the first place. And it's the beginning of Layla's sort of civil rights being stripped away from her. It reminded me of The Handmaid's Tale in a lot of ways. I've heard that reference before. When did you decide you were writing this book, and what sparked this particular story?
Well, it was kind of like fall or like late 2015, and that was kind of the run-up to the November 2016 election. So, the Republican primary was like underway, and that time around September, so one of the frontrunners in the Republican primary was on TV and was saying, if I'm elected president, I'm going to ban all Syrians from coming into this country because they're Muslim and they're probably part of ISIS, this real fear-mongering, terrible rhetoric. A month later, he said, what I'm going to do? I'm absolutely going to be looking at closing mosques in America because we've got to get this under control, whatever it was. And then a month after that, he said, if I'm elected president, I'm absolutely going to be looking into creating a database for Muslims so that all Muslim Americans have to be registered. And naturally, that incited a lot of anger in me. I have a lot of natural rage as a person, so
you carry it so well.
Yeah, I was.
It's not artificial.
I tried to keep it calm. Yeah. I tried to keep it inside, but yeah. So that kind of incendiary talk, I think, is so wrong, and that really incited me in a lot of ways to put pen to paper. And I usually come up with a character first. So I kind of had this feeling, there's rage. And then I had this character, a young woman who's just trying to, a girl like all the other girls who's just trying to live her life. She's in high school and, she's on the tennis team and she wants to kiss her boyfriend, is thinking about college, the things that, you should be thinking about when you're a young person. And then yet, too often our young people are forced into terrible positions because of decisions that adults make and that are forced upon them. So I kind of had that feeling or that idea of a character. And then I wrote a short story based on this character. Who that character became Layla, my main character. So I before I write a book, I always write a short story first. It's kind of like my treatment, I call it. And that way I can tell if I like the character.
Because you have to live with the character.
And that's exactly that's what I tell people. You have to live with that character and live in that world for, a long time. And you've got to write like 80,000 words or more.
And then revisions.
Oh my God, yes. And then, so that's what gives me a sense of whether that story is going to have legs. And so then I go on from that. And so I wrote that short story, and a piece of that short story is actually in this book. And it's right towards the beginning where she's meeting her boyfriend, David, sort of clandestinely, because there's a curfew that's been enacted.
It's a very intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
moment
it's
in the
very
book, yeah.
chilling because, there's the curfew and, some of the other things that she talks about in the beginning, like the Muslim ban, and there's a book burning. And, when I talk about sort of the inspiration from what that candidate was saying about like the Muslim registry and that stuff, it really made me think of 1933 in Germany and some of the Nuremberg laws, and then some of the other exclusionary things that were happening to the Jewish people in Germany, but then also things that had happened in America's past.
So that brings me kind of to this scene too, where you're talking about when she goes and sneaks off to see David, and there's like the book burning, and she's seeing people that she knows that is actually a part of this. So there's also a scene in the book where the chief that she's known since kindergarten takes her and her family to the train station, and he says like, oh, this decision is above my pay grade, and things will be settled in no time. You just have to kind of show that you're not a threat.
Right. Be compliant.
Exactly. And even when the guards in the camp who are reassigned to take the job, like, in their eyes, they're like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be the job.
I was just following orders.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something,
exactly.
the same
So
thing.
common.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
not common, but
No, but that's the
ways it
excuse
is,
that's
yeah.
made during so many atrocities.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, I was just the guard and I was just following orders. Well, actually, that's not an excuse.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's all examples of seeing injustice and not doing anything about it. So there are other instances, but I think, like, for one, there was a powerful line that says, I might have their sympathy, but sympathy isn't going to set me free. And so I know that this story is somewhat speculative, but, like, what advice do you have for people?
Only somewhat. I know. That's the scary thing about it.
When they are, like, complicitly silent about things that are important.
Well, one of the things, I mean, Layla really fights against silent complicity because we all, all of us have fears of speaking up. What if we're going to be next? What's going to happen to us? But one of the things that Layla does is, because she is, like, forced into the situation, forced into a camp, and a lot of her power is taken from her, right? I try to, when people ask me about, writing for the voiceless, I actually counteract that a little bit because I don't think people are, no one's born voiceless, but there are those whose voices are forcibly silenced. And that's what the director and others are trying to do to Layla and to her family and to Muslim Americans. And she's in that situation where she doesn't have a lot of power, but then she is trying to inspire those who do have power and privilege, like David, who has some power, and like other people. And she's saying to them, look, use your power and your privilege for a purpose.
Exactly.
Right.
And let that purpose be to speak out and to stand up and to march against these terrible injustices, because it might be starting with us, but it's going to get to you.
Exactly.
Because that's always how
Right.
it is in history. And she's like, learn the lesson of history, you guys. And, we might be the minority that's being oppressed right now, but don't think they won't come after you.
Yeah.
Right.
And your silence isn't going to save you. And just having sympathy for somebody because they're in a terrible situation isn't enough.
Exactly.
And so I guess that's what, part of her purpose is, and how she's able to sort of, lead sort of that rebellion from inside.
Yeah.
So, kind of adjacent to this, in the book, Layla asks how her family could be a danger, like how they could possibly ever be a danger, given her father's career, given her, given the way her family is. And then her father basically says to her, well, no, it's not about us being a danger, but it's that that others are fearful, right?
Well, that's what xenophobia is.
Exactly.
Definition.
Exactly. So, I guess my question is that, given that you immersed yourself in this book for, I would imagine, a significant amount of time, and you're also living in the United States,
right.
Yeah.
from in your opinion, like, what is the fear to you? Like, is it fear of the other? I mean, we talk about xenophobia.
Yeah, I mean, fear of the other is it's such a horrible guiding principle of the United States.
Right.
I mean, it is. I mean, this country was created literally on two things, like the two original sins of America, which is, the genocide of Native Americans and slavery. I mean, we were literally built on the backs of slaves, of chattel slavery. And those two things come about from, it's a fear of the other that becomes a violent fear. I mean, we all have fears, right? But we all have to make a choice about what fears are going to control us.
Exactly.
Right.
And the fear that is this sort of like within the foundation of the United States. And I talk about how like fascism is part of the American soil and has been here since, since before there was a United States when European settlers first came here. And, we have choices before us, but those people have made choices to let fear become violence. And when we are silent in the face of that, our silence is contributing to that. So, I mean, it is scary to speak up, sometimes. Although now, like, I always kind of look at speaking out on social media sort of like the gateway drug to to activism. Right. And you need that. Sometimes you need to have that first step. Like, what is the first thing I can do? And of course, there's like, it's natural for people to have like concerns and anxieties and their own fears about like what's going to happen if I say this.
Exactly.
But that first step is going to lead to another step. So maybe it's going to be you first tweeting about something, an injustice that you see on social media. And maybe you can't tweet about every single injustice because our world is full of so many.
Yeah. Right.
But there's things that are happening in your community that are happening around you, and you could try to find one to, speak out against. And, it because when she says, like, I get that you're having those sympathy, the reason those people have the sympathy is because they know something wrong is happening.
Right.
So when something wrong is happening.
Yeah.
And look, social media can lead to a lot of things. Like, that's what the kids in Parkland used to create this incredible movement. And so I think that's a good first step for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, and then maybe that's going to make you, maybe tweeting about it is going to give you a little bit of confidence. And that means like, at the next Thanksgiving when your racist uncle says something, it's going to make you say something back. Yeah, exactly. And, maybe you are going to be nervous about that, but maybe it's going to lead you to like say something. And then maybe after you do that, you're going to be on an airplane and you see somebody say something like, just what happened.
I know.
I was like, I don't even know if I should recount this thing where, a famous passenger was speaking out against like some Sikh men who were wearing a turban on the plane, and this passenger was a person of color and got them kicked off the plane because of her fear of what had happened, I guess, in New Zealand, which was a massacre against Muslims. I mean, it is so horrible, but why? That's when someone else needed to speak up and like try to shut that down. So like each little step, I hope is sort of like building sort of a scaffold of like courage and confidence that I hope can lead people to take a next step, and maybe one of those steps is calling your senator, calling your congressman about something that you think is wrong. Maybe it's going to be making sure you register to vote when you are 18, because we got another election coming up soon. And I really hope everyone who is going to be 18 in time for the election is going to be registering. And then registering is not enough, because then you got to show up.
Exactly.
And then you got to vote. And maybe when you show up, you're going to bring 2 of your friends with you. Maybe you're going to be calling your parents at home to make sure they show up. Maybe you showing up there, or maybe just registering to vote makes you think like, I can make a few calls for this candidate. Maybe that's going to make you realize, hey, I can make a few signs for this protest that's going to be in my community. Maybe making those signs is going to take you to the next step, which is going to be, hey, maybe I'm going to be organizing this protest. Maybe I'm going to be speaking at this protest. Maybe like I'm going to be writing a letter in my school newspaper or writing an op-ed for my town's newspaper. So each of those steps are important. It's something that is built on. I think that, when we look at revolutionaries and things that people have done, they didn't start with, Martin Luther King didn't start with the March on Washington.
Right.
But he built something that would enable that to happen.
Exactly. He started in his community. He started in his church.
Exactly.
I think also something that is very clear in your book is that anger is very important. Like it can, and I don't mean, anger is a complicated word, but I just mean like, it's okay to get angry at things that are
angry all the time.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, I was like, I'm an Aries, so I naturally have like rage and I've got a natural fire burning inside of me. But I think you can use anger in positive ways. Ideally, obviously people who have like these false fears or fear-mongering have some kind of misplaced anger too.
Right.
But I think there's a kind of justice to some kinds of anger. And it is right to be angry that, our kids can't go to school without fear of somebody with a gun coming in and shooting them because our politicians are, kowtowing to the NRA and won't have even sensible gun control laws. I think it's right to be angry about that. I think it's right to be angry that a young black boy wearing a hoodie going to buy like Skittles and Mountain Dew is going to be shot for literally nothing, or a black man sitting in his grandmother's backyard is shot because he's holding a cell phone.
Right.
I mean, you should be angry about that.
Totally.
I mean, you should be angry that these Sikh men are getting kicked off a plane for literally doing nothing but existing.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you can tell. I get like, well, how do the color? It's not just the lights, you guys. So I think it's like, you should have that anger, but use that anger or use that rage, for a purpose. Try to channel that energy. I mean, I channel some of mine into writing a book.
Right.
So I have like 386 pages of rage on that. But for me, rage also gives rise to hope in a way. I know it seems weird to combine those two, but like I have anger, but when I feel like I can use it in a positive way, it makes me realize like, yeah, I can make a change. Maybe that change is going to be small. Maybe, there's going to be somebody who reads this book who's never met a Muslim person in their life. Right. And maybe they're going to read this book and think, wait, Layla is actually sort of like me. Yep. She actually she's got a crush on her boyfriend. She's, she wants to go to college. She just wants to like live her life. She disagrees with her parents. She doesn't want to have a curfew. I actually have those things too. And so maybe you're going to look at her story and she's going to, she's like the Muslim other to you. But maybe you're going to read that story and think, well, maybe she's actually like me in more ways than I realize.
Yeah.
You want to ask?
Yeah. So let's talk about the idea of resisting or about it.
Let's talk about it.
In the beginning, when they're transported to the camp, Layla fights back when they are trying to stamp her with an ID number. And her dad says she'll comply. So why did you choose to have her dad speak in that moment for Layla? And was that to kind of depict how different generations can kind of act towards different situations?
Well, I think it's not just generational. I think that's more about the relationships people have. So that's her dad. And I think the natural response of parents, and we've seen this like throughout history during like times of atrocity, so many parents, their main thing is they just want to protect their kids no matter what. Even if it means maybe they're doing the wrong thing. Even if it means like, I'm going to quash her voice right now because they have so much fear. Yeah. And so, she loves her parents and I wanted her to have a strong relationship with them and I think she does. And the same thing occurs with David, her boyfriend. Their parents want to protect them. But I think, it's that difficult situation where it's like, I can protect you. But what does it mean if I'm telling you that now you have to comply for this? And that she says it to them, like, wait, okay, fine, great. If we comply, and then what's the next thing that's going to happen? Like, we go into this camp quietly without fighting, but they could still shoot us in the camp. They can shoot. She does this like in the book where, they can shoot us if I stay quiet just as well as they could shoot us if I speak up. So she's making a tough choice, which is to speak up. And, that's why she's trying to turn other people around too, including her parents.
There's a really interesting part in the book that I actually really related to as a Jewish person who grew up with a father who was much more religious than I have grown up being. And basically, Layla's parents teach her that she shouldn't judge another Muslim's religiosity. And it was, I guess my question is like, why did you add that detail into the story?
So my grandmother was very religious. I mean, she wore a burqa when she went out. She was in India. And she, like, never missed a prayer. She was probably the most pious and devout person I've ever met in my life. And, I learned a lot about Islam through her. And one of the most important things she would teach me, and this is like in the Quran, is there is no compulsion in religion. And that God alone judges. So it's not for you to be putting your judgment on other people because your relationship with God is individual. And that's really very much for me a foundation of Islam. And so I wanted to put that in there because I don't think that it's right for others to judge another person's religiosity. Like, you don't know that person, you don't know their place, you don't know their heart or their intention. And live and let live. That's kind of like a basic thing that I believe. And obviously people are going to disagree with this and say like, oh no, you have to adhere to this rule and this rule and this rule and this rule. But I was taught religion at the knee of like a very, very religious person. And she never once said to me, for example, she wore the burqa outside. She completely covered. And she never said to me, you have to wear a hijab, for example. She was like, that is a choice that you can make for yourself or not make. But I'm not imposing it on you because there's no compulsion in religion. Then it's not coming through from an honest place.
I'm so happy that you put that in the book too, because I feel like with the religion, like there's so many like negative connotations, and this is an example of like just having like a sense of community. And I'm sorry, I'm just
well, I think the sense of community is really important. And in Islam, we call like sort of the larger Muslim community the ummah. And I think the ummah, that community, should be a big enough umbrella to fit, all of us. And I mean, I did a lot of interfaith work too because of the same thing. Like we live under this giant umbrella, so don't impinge upon other people.
Yeah.
And I think it's also that, it doesn't really help any community to have infighting.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there naturally is infighting. There is. And, it's actually, to me, there's like so many ironies because, like, I mean, maybe you experienced some of this growing up. I don't know if you had like a religious background, but like if, you can see that like, oh, you're not doing it this way. But again, this is so much guilt. This is so much guilt. There's so much in the American brain too. This is like part of, in a way, like sort of Puritan culture in America, which is like, okay, you're the chosen one. You have to show that you're the chosen one, even if you're really not. Like, you've got to act in a certain way and be in a certain way. And, I just was never like a fire and brimstone. Like, everyone, like in high school, I don't know if everyone still has to read this, but we had to read this thing called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God.
I remember.
Like, this Puritan, like, and I was like, why would anybody think this was a good way to convince people to be religious or go to church? Like, it's pretty mean seeming. I was like, let's lead with love a little bit more.
Which is very interesting. Like, I grew up in my grandmother was super religious, Baptist church. And, like, I was always taught not to judge either. But it's just, like, the way that the Christian faith is kind of, like, plastered over the media. It's like that part is just nowhere. And the rhetoric, and it's just... It's
like the original messages or like the prophets who came down, I think a lot of them had so many similar messages, but I was like, the fandom has like become kind of problematic.
Right.
The religious fandom.
But I was like, you guys, like, this isn't really... I was like,
the opposite.
I was like, a lot of them talk about leading about judging. I was like, especially like when I see, like some Christians who are saying like, who are, prominent ones who are Islamophobic. I was like, I'm not an expert, but I know some things about Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like,
he chilled with everyone.
I was like, he was sheltering those that you would be trying to push out.
Right.
He was shielding those that you were trying to throw stones at. What that actually means something. Yeah. Like, treat your neighbor as yourself.
Exactly.
For I was hungry and you gave me food.
Right. So you also, like, and we were kind of talking about this just now, just like segregation within different Muslim communities. So in the internment camp, everyone is separated. There's South Asians, African Americans, Arabs, Southeast Asian. And you talk about colorism in the novel as well, and particularly how Muslims are attacked depending on like their shade of skin.
Definitely.
So why did you also think it was important to put this in the novel?
So there's like that's sort of a twofold or multifold answer. I guess the first thing is, the director and like the people who are creating the camp, I mean the government of the United States is segregating people on purpose. And that's so much like divide and conquer is very much like sort of one of the basic rules of colonialism, right? That's what actually helps colonial rule. That's what helps the oppressor. That's why it's one of their, they have like a few like standard tools of all oppressors. One is like getting rid of education, getting rid of books, and like using this divide and conquer strategy. And so that's why because they're exploiting sort of some of those natural tensions that might occur. And within the Muslim community, like, yes, it is hard to talk about things within your own community that need to be worked on. But again, like, I could either talk about it or like silently be complicit about this. And there is colorism within, Islam. It's an incredibly diverse religion. It's one of the most diverse religions in the United States. And if you go to a mosque, you're going to see somebody from everywhere, just like in the camp. There's going to be Latinx Muslims. There's going to be African American Muslims. There's going to be South Asian, Southeast Asian. There's going to be, white Muslims. There's going to be everyone. But race still plays a part in that. There is that intersectionality that exists. And even when you see Islamophobia, like in the United States, I mean, guess who's going to have the worst situation? And that's why I put that in the book. A black woman wearing hijab. She's going to be the most attacked. A Sikh man wearing a turban who isn't even Muslim is also going to be bearing the brunt of Islamophobia because they look a certain way. And racism is a part of both of Islamophobia, how it's put on us, but there is a colorism within the community. And, even like within, for example, just Asians, we talk about this a lot too. There is sort of colorism within this giant continent of Asia, or this category. So, it's part of something that we need to work against, and to speak out. Yeah. So I was like, this has to play. I mean, it's not the whole book, but it has to play a role.
Most definitely.
So I guess one of obviously a huge theme in the book is resist, essentially. I guess, in your opinion, and you kind of said this before already in a few suggestions, but what are forms of resistance? Like, what are, because it's so clear. Like,
right. And
most
this
people don't have the opportunity to resist.
Like, I hope no one has that.
That's what I was thinking while I was reading. I was like, it is speculative.
Yeah,
but
I know, but
not
so close, right?
Right.
Because there's things that are really just part of our world right now that are in the book. Well, I think for young people or older people, I just think it's important to take the first step. And the first one for a lot of us is just going to be trying to overcome our fears, right? And I talked a little bit about like paying attention to what your elected officials are doing and calling. Voting is like so important. Being civically engaged. I mean, even like within your own community, like even if that's within a school, like think about some of the policies in your school. Think about what things that are being enacted in your school. Like, we have that story of that young Muslim boy who was taken out of his school in handcuffs for building that clock.
That was so insane. Yeah.
Because his teacher thought it was a bomb, and he had come into school like, wow, this is amazing. Look what I did. I did this. And he wasn't even in high school. Maybe he was like 9th grade.
Yeah, he was like, really young.
Yeah. I mean, he was like just barely a teenager, and the police have to come to the school. Like, that's a situation where if that's the kind of school you're going to, if these incidents happen in our schools probably more often than we realize. Maybe it's not just with handcuffs, but maybe it's other things. Maybe it's like with the suspension policy. You know what? Maybe you're going to be writing in your school newspaper, and that's one thing that you should be looking at. Like, wait a minute, how is it that black kids are getting suspended at a rate that's like 3 or 4 times greater than white kids? Like, what's happening here? Why is it that the honors classes are only made up of the white kids at the school? Like, what is the situation that's getting us into this? And I think it's important to like investigate that, understand what's happening in your communities, and to speak out against it. Now, it is uncomfortable for a lot of us also, because for some people, what it's asking them to do is to live in some discomfort and to first be aware of how things like structural racism or sexism have actually helped them. Like, a lot of people
that is so key.
A lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about their own privilege. But if you don't recognize your own privilege, you are taking away some of your power, because you can actually use your privilege. You can take power from that to dismantle those systems, because those voices are going to be heard first. So be an ally and figure out in that situation, what is the best way to be an ally? So maybe it's going to be seeing something. And look, I'm not asking people to put themselves in danger. I just want to put that out there. I mean, people have to be comfortable with what they're doing. And, at the same time, I just think it's important to keep your eyes open, be aware, and in the ways that you are able safely to speak up. I feel like this is, I guess maybe because I'm about to head off on book tours, I'm going to be in airports a lot. But I think this is, and with this recent example, this is something that I've seen where it's like, hey, you know what? This is where you could stand up. Why are you letting this racial profiling literally happen right in front of you? Especially if you are a white person. Right. You are really unlikely to be arrested and to be dragged down an aisle. It's just really unlikely.
And people are programmed to listen to you.
Yes.
Systematically programmed.
Yes, like or like whoever, authority figures. So use that if you can. Like, use your privilege to dismantle the system of privilege. It's uncomfortable, and I think a lot of people feel like, wait, this means something is going to be taken away from me. But I think when you had a privileged position for so long, equality to you seems like your own oppression. That's not what it is.
Or is a threat. Right.
Yes. Maybe you're losing a free ride to something. I don't know. I mean, like, you're losing, like, your parents paying X many $1 million to try to scam you into college. Well, maybe you should earn it.
Yeah.
That's like one of those great American things, which is like, if you work hard, you can get anything. That's really not true. Yeah. That is, and I just think it's like a falsehood that's really, I think people should work hard. I worked hard, and I think that people have to sort of also understand, like, hey, some things are kind of being handed to some people on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm one of them. Maybe I can use that silver platter to,
Right.
for a purpose. I was going to say to bash someone over the head, but no, I don't mean that violence. I mean it metaphorically only.
Yeah, exactly.
To break down a system.
Should we go into this?
Yeah.
Should we do this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we do a little thing called the Bellatrix Brief,
Okay.
where we just ask a few questions that don't relate to the book.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. Interesting. Okay.
It's like a lightning round.
Okay, yeah, okay, fine,
The
yeah.
first question is, what's your favorite indie bookstore?
Oh, that's easy. It's 57th Street Books.
Oh, and
it's
where is
in
that?
Chicago.
In Chicago.
It's actually a co-op bookstore, which I'm a member, and
that's
so are the
cool.
Obamas.
Oh.
It's the Obamas' favorite Chicago bookstore. I think I could say that. And it's actually a fabulous bookstore. It has two branches, Seminary Co-op and 57th Street Books, and they are just fabulous. They've been part of the community for over 35 years, and they really are cultural institutions. That's why bookstores are so great.
Yeah.
By co-op, you mean that it's sort of owned by...
Yes, I mean, they've changed some of the governance structure
Yeah.
now, but when I first joined, I had like a share of the co-op.
That's very
And
cool.
the,
Really cool, yeah.
the Obamas have a share. That's my co-op.
That's
So
equality.
we're
right
BFFs.
there.
Like,
It's so fantastic. It is like an amazing bookstore. I absolutely love these bookstores. So
Was there, or were there songs that you listened to when you were writing, or to get into you're very young, but she's a little bit younger.
she's like, I could be your mom.
Like,
So
get into her head.
you know what? I probably not to get into her head. I sometimes will listen to sad music if I am writing a sad scene. I'm not really good with feelings, so it's good for me to have like music with some feelings. But then also like, do you know the song by The National called "Fake Empire"?
I do, yeah.
So that, and there's also another song, Gospel. I listen to those two a lot, both by The National, because they both, like, Fake Empire is really a thing about, it was about George Bush's America, but it very much applies to this. And then sometimes I listen to show tunes.
Love shows.
Like for this, I was listening to like some of these rousing, like, in Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Like, do you hear the people sing?
Yeah.
Like, these like songs of revolution,
Right.
of course. And I listen to the Hamilton soundtrack a lot during this. So I don't know, yeah. But sometimes I don't really write all the time with music. It's just a little bit on the early parts of maybe drafting, or sometimes if I'm just doing copy edits.
Okay.
But I usually like to have. I'm kind of a solitary writer.
Okay.
I write like in my attic, and then I like to sort of have quiet.
I find that it's hard to write with music on because it can be distracting.
Yes, and sometimes then you're hearing those words and that
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah. Do you like any podcast? Do you listen to podcasts?
I do, yeah.
Any one you
So
love?
I do listen to a lot of writing podcasts, but there's two. There's one podcast where I'm waiting for the second season. It's called Last Scene, and it is it's a true crime podcast, but not about murder. So if you're like me and like true crime, but also are really squeamish and don't like murdery things, it's actually about an art heist, and it's like so fascinating. It's like the biggest art heist ever in the history of art heist, and it took place in 1990 at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and 13 paintings were stolen, and one of them was like a Vermeer, one was like a Rembrandt Seascape, which there are almost zero of. There was some like Degas and a Manet. Anyways, 13 paintings that are millions and millions of dollars, and they've never found they have no idea where these paintings went. So they've disappeared off the face of the earth. It was this totally brazen heist, and the podcast is great. It like breaks down all the pieces. It shows like what happened. And 1990 there wasn't the security measures that we have now, and I think it's fascinating because like the journalists are following like little clues to like maybe it's buried in this backyard in Florida, or like maybe it's this mafia family from France. I mean, it really is like these. So anyway, somehow I love the storytelling in it. Plus, who doesn't love a heist? A good heist
Love a
story,
heist.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like 13 paintings. Like, how did they carry this out? Like, were they like, they cut them out of the frames, they rolled them up, but still 13.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty brazen.
Yeah.
So that one, I'm waiting for the second season of that one, and I actually really love Hidden Brain.
Yes. Is that Manoush Summer? No, that's a different.
Anyway, Hidden Brain is Shankar Vedantam.
Got it.
It's really great, and it actually gives me like little writing insights because it talks about like little things like what leads us to fear this thing. What part of your brain is making you do that?
Yeah.
Or, why are some people more adventurous than others? Like, why can some people, scale a mountain and other people like me get like sweaty palms like watching it? Like that. Like the movie that just won the documentary Oscar.
Free Solo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Free Solo, I am dying to see this, but like just watching the preview, I'm like, I'm getting nervous right now.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so it's sort of like one of this like what is in Up with Our Hidden Brains, like what is like sort of the reptilian aspect that comes out. So to me, it's really interesting because that makes me think of like my character motivations and what might make some people act one way in one situation and other people not act.
Especially in a
Yeah.
book like this.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Is there, and this is a more frivolous one maybe, but is there anything that you use beauty-wise, like hair, or I see you're wearing a lipstick that...
I do lipstick blends.
Oh.
So I'm wearing like 3 lipsticks right now.
Really?
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I am not like, I would like to be better at makeup. Sometimes I like go on like makeup Twitter. I'm like, oh my God, look at all this
Makeup Twitter.
Look at all this like Korean beauty product information. This is amazing. I need to get one of these serums. I'm not great at it, but I do always travel with at least one lipstick.
Okay.
I like to have blends, and I am not really beholden to like one particular brand. I just am like,
respect that.
this color, I'm gonna just try this one now. But
mix
I
this
can't
first?
do like the green, like the really funky colors. I can't really do that. I'm sort of normally in just like maroon to red is like my span.
And last, are you working on anything new now?
I am. I actually have a book that's coming out almost a year from now. It's called Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know. And
That's a great title.
It's a little bit of a literary mystery. It follows the story of this young girl who is in Paris. She's actually biracial. Her mom is Indian American, her dad is French. So she's in Paris for her family's annual holiday. And she really wants to be like an art historian. And there she meets a young man who's a descendant of Alexandre Dumas, the writer. And they uncover a letter between Eugene Delacroix, the painter, and who painted a series of paintings based on some Lord Byron poetry. And they discover a reference to a Muslim woman living in Paris in the 19th century who seems like she could have been a muse for all 3 of these figures, Dumas, Delacroix, and Byron. And so they set off on this kind of like mystery archival adventure to figure out who she is, and at the same time there's a dual narrative, so we hear some of her story being spoken. So it's a little bit different than my first 2 books, but it still follows. I realize I kind of like this thread of the revolutionary girl, and revolutions can be different. Like in this one it's a very overt, like loud revolution, but sometimes like in my first book, you can have a personal revolution in just being yourself and speaking your own truth and having and finding your own voice.
Well,
That's
thank you
awesome.
so much. I know.
That's awesome.
Great, thank you. Those are great questions.
So much for coming in. That was so like. I know. I just feel like we could just talk all day. I feel like every time we do these interviews, we just talk to more and more authors who it's just so profound and always so timely, and the good, the bad, the ugly. But I think right now, especially, it's really good for people to hear.
I know this coming on like the New Zealand thing is like it was like really brutal. I was like, oh God, I feel like we're like pushing like a book. Like one thing, like trying to sell something, like my community's been like so hard hit, but at the same time, it's about these issues.
Right.
So.
But it's not. You're not pushing a book. You're writing a story that needs to be told. You have to
also
think of it.
Fiction is a good way to engage in a discussion.
Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. I think so. It's a safe way for people to sort of, like that gateway drug thing I was talking about. So I was like, oh God, maybe I shouldn't be talking about drugs, but.
No, it is.
I think CBD is legal now. That's kind of like
exactly.
On that note, everybody make sure to comment below for your chance to win a copy of Internment. And thank you so much for coming in.
And a pin, possibly.
And a
pin.
And a hat.
And a hat,
So, if you want all of your resist gear, make sure you comment below because it's necessary. And if you're watching for the first time, if your friend shared it, make sure to follow us. Why Not YA Books? Follow Epic Reads. Follow Belletrist so that you can learn more about us. And what are your handles? Where can people find you?
So SamiraAhmed.com is the easy one. And then at SamIam, so it's SAM_AYE_AHM. It's Instagram and Twitter.
Great.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank
you
so
guys so much for
much.
watching.
Bye.
Bye.